What's up, folks? We are back for episode 4 of Insecure, our review. The team is back. Before we get started for the day, thank everybody so much for all the positive feedback, discussions, and so forth on the YouTube channel. And if this is your first time listening to us, definitely give us a subscribe and definitely give everybody that's part of the show an individual follow on all their social medias, that you can catch up with other projects that they're involved with and other sidebar discussions that they have this show. But as far as for episode 4, Lowkey Losin It of Insecure, we're about to dive deep into this episode. And before we get started, I think we're all excited to hear about this news because Insecure has been renewed for a 5th season. And I read the verbiage really clear because it has been rumors that it would be their last season. And there seems to be no indication on that, because any other show, if it is their last season, it's always kind of typed out in a way of saying like, and for their 5th and final season, and none of that was in there. So it looks like they may be going ahead with it, and I think we all can say we're pretty excited for that. So Insecure will be back for the 5th season, and they did state also that all of the main cast will be returning. So there's no conflict of any of that in there. So all good stuff, But before we get started, and before we even introduce everybody, I think it would just be criminal if we definitely did not give our lovely Amaya a quick shout out and a quick toast, because she is celebrating a birthday. So
wow.
So that was rude. That was rude.
Unbelievable. As the oldest man on the cast right now.
To Amaya, happy birthday. And
thank you.
Happy birthday.
Plenty of more for you.
Yes. Cheers.
I can't show y'all what I'm drinking.
But yes, everybody is back this week again. I'm so happy, and we got a lot to talk about tonight. And obviously, I just got to tell you, it's not gonna be a lot of me talking tonight because I am positioning myself away from the hosting duties and positioning it over to the host of the night, the birthday girl. Amaya, it is all yours.
Hey y'all, so it is so great to be back. As you all know, it is I, the one and only Amaya Desire, and I want to let the rest of the team introduce themselves. So go ahead, Jazz.
I'm Jazz. My Instagram, all my social media is LIDD_VITT. And yeah, happy to be here. Happy to be talking Insecure.
Yes, welcome back, Jazz. All right, Cheryl.
Happy Friday, it's Sherelle. Social media for Instagram and Facebook is Sherelle Dominique.
I love that, actually. I need to. Well, I guess I do have that. I was about to be like, damn, she got 2 first names. That's fly. Sherelle. And I had to look at my name for a second. I was like, why I don't got 2 names? And I was like, you do have 2 names.
So what's crazy is, like, a little bit of background is that I have 2 last names. So to keep it fair, like on my social medias and that my parents don't feel left out, I just use the middle name, and it works perfectly.
I like it, Sherelle Dominique. It sounds very sensual. Come on, old man Lou.
It's Lou.
That is BS. The man who got the most to say got the least to say in his introduction.
All the time.
Deception.
That's
Deception.
Hey, that's what it's supposed to be.
Unbelievable. I'm gonna ask Najir real quick. What was the title of this one again?
Lowkey Losin It.
Okay, so I'm gonna hop in. You know what? I felt like I wanted to jump right into Issa and Molly because if we even just talk about that dynamic in reference to, let's just start with Issa, right? Everybody's showing up at her apartment and she forgot to turn on the water, to let them know the water was going to be turned off, right? So, all that happening. And then she's like excited. She's realizing at this point, Condola is no longer responding to her text messages. How did y'all feel about that? Because I wasn't surprised, but I was surprised at the same time. If that makes sense.
First of all, I never saw that coming because one, Condola character has been so good. The fact that we did not get her in this episode alone, period, was a little bit disturbing. But the fact of how they decided to not use her in this episode was like, whoa, she's ghosting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because again, I feel like in the beginning of the other episodes that we covered, I feel like we talked so much about her work ethic And she has completely went against that because they're not talking buddy stuff. They're talking about business there. And she's like, yeah. And I'm not going to respond in that. So that kind of threw me off. And not to mention too, and maybe you guys can kind of, elaborate on this a little bit, but like the dynamic of Condola not handling business, is it reflecting back on Issa for her not handling her business too now? Because I thought that was kind of forthcoming where everybody was like, yo, you're not on your game. The simple thing is water that, I mean, she had to use because everyone uses water every day. That means like she's locked in a whole nother dimension of like complete utterly irresponsibility.
Yeah, so for me, I think that Issa is she's juggling too many things at one time, and being the property manager is not her priority. So she's falling off on her game on that. I think that there's something a little bit different that's happening with the block party part of it. But yes, again, she's falling off on her game because she completely forgot about the printing of the flyers. But I think a lot of it is just that she's juggling too much. And then her buddy is not responding to her. The person who's holding her accountable for a lot of things is not responding. So who's holding Issa accountable? Who's keeping Issa in check and in line? So I guess you're right, Nigeria. She's off her game, and the person who she needs and the person that she's been, working with and, helping her be accountable is not there. So she's dropping the ball on a lot of different things.
Yeah,
I think Issa needs a win. Like, I feel like that's kind of where like her mind is this season. Like, she just needs a win, and like all her energy, all her focus is like on this project, like alone, and nothing else kind of like matters. I know, like, I've been in that place in my life. I know other people have been in that place in my life where, everything kind of else just kind of falls to the wayside. And not that it's an excuse for, all her, mess ups, but that's kind of like where her head seems to be. And Condola being MIA it's definitely a personal thing. It's definitely personal. And it kind of reflects, I feel like that's maybe what we saw from last week's episode, her kind of, we got a more of a glimpse into Condola's personality outside of like her work ethic. And now we're getting deeper into that.
Into the person.
Yeah, it was definitely a personal reflection.
For me, it was what happens when you find out you're actually not a leader.
Oh.
Everything that has been going on with Issa has been her as the follower. And at times we say it to a fault, like she needs to stop pleasing people. But what happens if that's actually just her? She's a follower. She's someone who needs to be drugged through everything else. That's why from the beginning, when she took the job as the property manager, I think it was Molly who said, "Are you sure you want to do that? Because that doesn't seem like you." Like, so it's been foreshadowed that I don't believe she's comfortable nor has the ability to be the lead person in anything. And in this episode, it kind of shines through, whether it was forgetting about the water notice or forgetting about the flyers or depending on other people to try to come through on things that she, in all honesty, should have come through, even through tough questions. And I know we'll get on it later in the episode when her and Molly had that conversation in the office, and Molly is literally like giving her pointers like, why aren't you checking into this stuff? That literally makes no sense. No one can just back out on you if you have a contract.
Right.
It's because she needs that tough friend. So it's coming more across like Molly is the way she is. It's because that's the friend Issa needs. And she needs Condola to be that friend now. And when she goes MIA, which again, as I think Jazz said, it plays a lot to what happened at the end of last episode with her and Lawrence is the reason why she wasn't there this episode.
I agree. I think that we all know that everybody cannot be a leader, right? There has to be somebody that supports you while you're leading, that has your back and it follows and sometimes works out all the things that we're going through, right? I will say that I do think that Issa has the capability. I think she's not confident enough to do it. right? I feel like because when you are a people pleaser, there's a part of you that is willing to sink when you feel like, when you know you should be like here, like prime example, that parking scene, right? Issa wanted to be like, bro, I was here first. Why do I even have to have this conversation with you? But Molly is accustomed to Issa bending for her. So she's thinking, well, like this is going to be another instance where you're going to bend for me. And I feel like that was a perfect opportunity for Issa to like let her balls drop and be like, no, right? Like I was here first. She was clearly there first. Like this is my parking space. You can go and park across the street from the tip bar and then walk back this way. You see what I'm saying? So I think that Issa has the capability, but I don't believe she believes in herself enough to actually pick up the torch and like run with it. She feels like she needs the push. And as long as she feels she needs to be pushed, she will kind of just drop the ball.
Yeah.
So just a little rebuttal for everybody. So the little, I'll say good mood that she was in, the little static personality that she was showing in the beginning of the episode, is that fabricated then in the midst of total frustration?
No, I think that is
Issa, yeah. I mean, because
when she was parking the car, how happy she came and she was going up to the car.
Yeah.
Oh,
no. Yeah, well, in the very
well.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say in the very beginning of the episode, it started off. Yeah, she was definitely, before they knocked on the door, she was definitely on the uppity up. But like, you know, everything you guys are saying, I think is super valid. But I'm just saying, like, it was that this fabricated happiness, or is she just oblivious to everything that's happening around her?
Now you got to remember, in the beginning, she's looking at the flyer because things are going good. She doesn't know that the artist is going to back out.
Right.
She doesn't know that Condola is really ignoring her. She doesn't know anything bad is happening until after, you know, when the people start knocking on her door and Condola's not responding.
Right. So it was like the people at the door, Condola not responding.
Everything,
you know, like boom,
went downhill after her excitement.
It's like she's good. She was good when it was all good, but once the little thing started, like she didn't know how to put out her own fires.
Right.
She was good when she didn't have responsibility.
But she did though, didn't she? Like,
no, she didn't. Because Condola was the one handling the flyers. All she did was send a little message and say, hey, look at this and let me know if it needs to be fixed. That's passing the buck to someone else. She was good because she had completely forgot about the water thing because it's not in her mindset.
Yeah.
Well, is it though? I see it as not been clearly defined between them two, is what's Condola's actual responsibility for this. Or is it more of, hey, I'm here to support you. If I'm here to support you, I need you as a leader to make decisions.
But I actually don't think that it was. I think it was collaborating. I didn't really see like specific duties handed to each of them. So I can't say, but I will say that it looked more of like, that's almost like, you know, me knowing about stocks and Nigeria not knowing about stocks, and he leans in me because he's like, all right, well, you know about stocks and I don't know about, you know, trading on the floor, but Nigeria does. So I'm leaning into his strength. I think that they were trying to play to each other's strengths. I don't think that it was real definition, like you said, Lou. I don't think there was any real definition on
it wasn't defined.
I'll say this really quick, and I think I know what you're trying to say, Lou. It's that Issa is out here trying to swing in the majors when she should probably be in the minors. She's hanging with people that got the talent, who is ultimately the clutch, who can ultimately make her shine. But without it, she's exposed as being, you know, as you said, not a leader and completely just lost at sea. And I think it goes back to what you just said really quickly earlier. You know, when her and Condola are working together, it's magic is happening. This project she's been working on forever is happening. Same thing with her and Molly. When Molly started talking about the legal ramifications of things, that wasn't love. That wasn't a friendship. That was just straight business right there. Yes. And she 100%. She was lost at sea. Like, I don't know anything about that. You take that away from it. You left her at the like, so can you hook me up around the corner with your homeboy type of thing? That's not business. You know what I mean? That's that 5-finger discount out the side door type of movement. That's not really valid when you're trying to conduct, you know, honest business, especially a project of this magnitude.
And I would say, especially when you say it's both of them two working together, but if you pay, especially at the end of season 3, when her and Condola really started working together, it was always Condola pushing Isha's plan, Isha's hopes bigger and further. But I can't push you if you're waiting for me to push you. Like the goal is for you to keep this moving. Like if it's my project and this is her block party, hers, it's Issa's block party.
Yeah.
Why do I need Condola to make any decision?
And
if
that's what I was
feel
going to
that's the way to
say.
go, yeah.
And that's what I was going to say too, because if it was a collaboration in that sense, then I feel like Condola wouldn't be leaving Issa out. I think that it would be more of her really working towards getting it to happen. But for me, I think like Lou said, it's Issa's block party. It's her thing. I think that she just needed Condola for the networking purposes and to give her the resources to get it started. But it's Issa's responsibility to finish it. And I think she's using Condola as a crutch when she needs to own what she needs to do with this to make it happen. But it's not Condola's responsibility to check the printers or to do any of those things. If this is your flyer, you have the decision to make on this flyer. It's your flyer.
I agree.
So a quick question then everybody then. Condola not answering their text messages, this is not a problem then.
It's a problem. It's a problem because number one, it's a business. And we've been working towards making some things happen. If you have an issue, communicate that issue. This is still work. And don't ghost me. But if there's a problem or if you're busy, talk to me, explain to me. But it got complicating when at the end of the episode when it was said, oh, hey, do you still have feelings for Issa? Now it's shit. This is a big deal.
Business and pleasure.
This is personal now. That's why you can't mix it. And that is what Molly wanted Issa to see. That's what she wanted to show her. But Issa being the people pleaser, Issa being the nice girl, now it's all falling apart because we were cool, but then you started dating my ex, and then now my current boyfriend possibly may still have feelings for his ex-girlfriend. Now it's complicating.
I think it was just messy, and although it wasn't meant to be messy, the ending of that last episode made it messy.
But made it messy.
She asked the question of well, if she hadn't cheated, would you still be with her? For me, possibly yes, right? Because the possibility of them staying together would have been a yes if she hadn't cheated, but also a possibility of them not being together if Issa was tired enough to say, Lawrence, I'm leaving. So there are two different scenarios that could have happened.
They would have still been together.
For me, I think it's not a personal dig, but it is a professional, it's a professional problem because now your integrity of me having worked with you and people gonna say, oh, I thought Condola was working with you on this, and you'd be like, nah, she, professionally she left me hanging, and personally she obviously left her hanging too. I don't think it's necessarily it's a problem. I wouldn't call it a personal problem because so personal things happen all the time. But if we're on a project together and you can no longer hold up your end of the bargain, then it's a business issue. It's a professional issue.
Yep.
And I was thinking about that. So I just want to bring that back around too, because I was thinking about what Sherelle said. And I'm like, so in Issa not taking authority over her project, is Molly right for saying I'm not going to ask Asian Bae? Because I think when I watched that part, I'm like, but you know him enough, I would assume to just reach out and ask a question. I think that she could have went to Molly and been like, hey, I'm going to ask him, blah, blah, blah. And she could have gave her opinion, whether or not she was okay or not okay. And then Issa could have made decisions from there. But I think that there was enough playing room for Issa to have asked that question without having to put Molly in the picture with it. So what do you think about that?
I absolutely think that Molly has no clue where her position is at with Andrew after he rejected her, and now he's like, I'm not sure if I can ask for a favor because that may be a little bit too demanding. I really do not think it's anything more than that.
But if I'm your friend, I'm going to say, hey, listen, I'm going to ask Andrew to reach out to you.
She
didn't even offer to do that. So to me, that's it's a little shady to me. To me, that says I don't want you to win. Because I'm going to give you, if I'm not going to ask him about it, and if I'm not going to, put it into my bedroom time with my dude or whatever, I'm not going to do that. But I am going to say, listen, hey, I think you should reach out to Issa. She's working on a project, and I think you can help her out. That's all I would say. Give him her number. Give Andrew Issa's, just connect it that way. But for her to not say anything and then to just kind of like carry it the way that she did, I wouldn't do that to my friend.
Gotcha.
I think it feels like, I guess it felt like a funny moment. I guess it's an awkward moment for Issa to kind of bring up a favor because of the state
she's not been supportive of the relationship.
Because of that relationship. So I think like put in her shoes, if Molly kind of came back with a response like that, like, I'm not going to ask him. I think I put in Issa's position. I think I would have taken it upon myself to be like, I hear you, no problem. I'm gonna, I'm gonna reach out to him, myself. I just wanted to, just giving you a heads up. I think it was on the last season, Issa showed up to Andrew's house.
But she was also snooping through his house.
Right.
So she knows his address. She knows where he lives. She obviously has no problem pulling up unannounced.
But this also shows Issa not taking responsibility then. But I do think that Molly should have at least said, hey, Andrew, reach out to Issa, or hey, Issa, here's Andrew's number. Just call him. I told him that you would be calling. I mean, that is just enough. That's not hard.
I would say, well, the thing I recognize the most is right before she asked for that favor, when Molly was about to start that conversation, I believe that conversation was going to go into their friendship.
Yep.
Yeah,
because of their issues at the point. And when Issa interrupted to ask for a favor, how are you going to ask me for a favor when we are not addressing the issues we have with one another?
Agreed.
And I am in no way, shape, form, or fashion. You could be the best friend to me in the world. If we are going through issues, there's no way I'm going to ask someone I know or someone I'm with for a favor for you until we work out whatever we have going on first. That needs to be a priority.
I mean, I think that I would still say, hey, I think we should talk first. But
and that's the thing. I think that's what Molly wanted to say, but Issa was real quick in cutting her off. Like, hey,
she definitely cut her off, because I think right now she's not focused on their friendship. She's focused on herself, and I'm okay with that. But at the same time, that we have problems. That things aren't going well with our friendship. I think that she should have at least said, she should have heard Issa out, and then we should have had the conversation, and then she would have just been like, well, listen, I'll do this, I'll do that, but let's have this conversation right now.
I think
Issa's not making their friendship our priority.
Not at all. And it also brings up another issue that Molly brought up earlier in the episode when her and Tiffany was talking, and she looked at Lawrence and she said, well, you know what, when all that happens, all that's going to happen to me is I'm going to get drugged into that mess. If she is to introduce Issa to Andrew, and whatever connection they gain, that is Molly dragging herself into whatever mess it is between Issa, Condola, and Lawrence, because that's going to backfire with whatever else they're setting up, because that situation has not been defined. Your friendship has not been defined. And now you want me to bring my new relationship into your mess. At that point, as a friend, I'm going to say, no, like, I'm sorry, I can't help you here.
I'm not mad at Molly for her decision, to be quite honest, right? You're protecting your new relationship, you're protecting your peace. I get it. I think Issa is totally oblivious and not oblivious at the same time, right? She knows that there's something off with her and Molly. She had the conversation with Tiff. Kelly, when we see have that scene, Molly also brings it up, the whole parking situation, the awkward conversation, like when you can tell when you're on the phone with somebody and they're not feeling it, because I'm pretty sure in previous seasons we've seen Molly like finish the verse that Issa's spitting or rap the chorus. You know what I mean? Like there are a lot of things that's showing off. So for Issa to be totally oblivious, and I get it, every now and then we are oblivious and we're super selfish when we're going through our own stuff. But listen to the conversation. She said, "Hey girl, can we talk?" Molly says, "Yes, I've really been meaning to," or "Yes, girl, we need to." That was already an indication that Molly didn't know why you were calling. So if she's saying me too, or we need to talk, you're not paying attention. You're so far on your own stuff that you can't see it. I would have done the same as Molly because I'm protecting my peace at this moment, these things are happening. And I will say this, and I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I feel like perhaps this is a bigger conversation to be had too in regards to friendships, right? So now Issa cannot joke with Molly in that same regard that she could have 2 seasons ago. But you all know that in friendships there are those jabs, those little jabs that are taking, or they're supposedly jokes, and now all of a sudden because you're on a path to change, you're now offended. It's a conversation to be had that we're growing and I'm not there anymore type of thing.
You know what? I got to be very honest. This is probably a whole nother conversation, but I think in my X amount of years of life, I have no clue how to address going from, hey, we are connected, we are really fluent in the way we converse with each other, especially joke, to a little bit of disruption, to like, how do we go back to that? How do you get back into joking matter and it doesn't offend anybody? That's completely, and I agree. That's a critical, element that they have between the two of them. And I have no clue how it fits, because again, I feel like a lot of the theme of this episode was just, they are on the same type of vibe that they've been on for so many seasons. And I mean, I've even wrote it in my note. And although this season has been foreshadowing the breakup of their friendship, it's still the unlikely friendship that we never thought would ever break up based on what we've seen for 3 seasons thus far going into this season. So it's definitely a little bit awkward. And then much to your point of Maya and to Lou's point too, is just like, favors aren't just something you just dish out all willy-nilly. It is an equal playing ground in doing so. You loan somebody money, there's a little bit of level of trust that that they will return it. Right. If it's calling to connect, if it's getting employment for somebody, there's a little bit of integrity and dignity to it that you're like, I feel like this person understands that I have them at their best interest. Hopefully they represent me at their best interest. You know what I mean? So as much as this is a major project, a month away for Issa and her block party, Molly understands that, one, our friendship is shaky, to say the least. And me and Andrew's situation currently right now that I'm addressing, and I will give Molly all her props for being emotionally available for him and having these conversations, that she went over there and had that conversation a day after. Big props to her for doing that. And then she's like, so I'm having a situation, you're having a situation, when you just completely disregarded our situation to help you out with something solely for yourself, and you want me to do something for you. So that not only negates what's important to Molly where she's at currently, what's important to Molly with them together. This is all about Issa. Her response is so adequate. I would 9 times out of 10, I'm doing it 11 times easily, just over the top. Yeah, it's the proper response for the situation. It was never about Molly and Issa's relationship there at all.
It wasn't. So how do you feel? How do you guys feel in reference to how Kelly and Tiffany handled those conversations with Molly and Issa throughout that scene?
I actually think that the funny thing is that's really not how girl friendships work. But I think that it shows maturity because of the simple fact that most women will say, well, I've been feeling like this too, or I've been feeling like that too. They'll make it a gossip situation, but they both said, y'all need to talk. And I think that is truly what maturity looks like.
I think they know their friends. I think they know their friends better than their friends know each other at this point. They see clearly kind of what Issa and Molly aren't seeing. It's like everybody on the outside kind of sees it, and Issa and Molly they're too deep in it to realize that whole parking scene was ridiculous. Like for no reason. Like so ridiculous. Like, but that's the point. I think that scene was there to show you the point of ridiculousness that the situation has gotten to. Like, that's how, like, they just need to sit and have that conversation. And of course, obviously, it's easier said than done. But I mean, on Tiff and Kelly's part, yeah, I agree with you, Sherelle. Like, that they definitely did take the mature approach that I don't really see. I don't really see in real life happening all the time.
That's so funny to me. That is so funny.
It definitely would have been more gossipy, but
it would have. That's occurred for me, I think, where I have been in a situation similar, but I'm very quick to be like, well, you need to have a conversation with so-and-so, because the one thing that I don't want to do is get in the middle of it. And I've been, like Lou can tell you, I've way too many conversations, way too many times have I had to say, like, you should really have a conversation with this person, or, this, that, and the third. If that's how you feel, like, I will never negate the person's feelings, right? I always like your feelings are absolutely validated because that's how you feel. However, my opinion I'll always try to be as unbiased as possible, as level-headed as possible, especially when it comes to friendships, because for me, they're important, just like, family. So if you've been friends with somebody for 20 years, ideally you want to try everything in your power to salvage that friendship versus seeing it go down the drain. So I wouldn't want to add oil to the fire, basically.
And I actually want to point out something too. We saw Molly let her guard down. She did you saw all like this weight lift off of her when she thought that they was about to have this conversation. She put on her little nice girl voice.
Yes.
She was ready. She was ready. And that's actually something that we've not seen from Molly. Because like you can really just kind of see like, let's do it. She was like really ready. And then it didn't go her way.
I think what we're seeing is the relationship change. Any form of a long-term relationship, whether it be with a partner, whether it be with a friend, over time those things change and dynamics switch. Absolutely. I think the reason that Tiff and Kelly were able to give them advice, you all need to talk to each other, because even though it was only a short clip in season 3, a very short clip, and you saw the issue with Kelly and Tiffany, and they talked it out, and they learned how to maneuver and grow in their relationship. Something that right now Molly and Issa aren't able to do, and that's because one person is one track minded and the other one is morphing into a different type of friend. And if you are not paying attention when your friend is morphing into a different type of friend, you're going to miss little cues about it, and it can completely end a relationship.
I agree. And I think...
Go ahead. No, you got it.
So I was just going to say that I think, Lou, that was like an amazing point, because the idea that they are shifting, the both of them, right? Like, despite how it looks, because it looks messy, it looks all over the place. Growth has never been like a straight line. It's always all over the place. I think that watching them do that, especially Molly, right? Because her willingness to open up to Issa translated to her relationship with Agent Bay, right? Like you said, Najir, she decided to go over there the day after to have a conversation with him. What do you guys, what were you thinking when you saw that scene? Like, did it change your view on Molly or any insight that you foresee happening in the next couple of episodes?
First of all, I'll say really quickly to the other question is that I thought Kelly in particular, who's always been a comedic act and friend, really gave some really poised advice here. Sound on, and quite frankly, she's my spirit animal in the same situation, because at the same time, you can be really intelligent and really dissect the situation and still really want to be hands off with it. Like, I was like, look, did you do this? Did you do that? Hey, cool. If not, or if so, then you need to handle that. Kelly's all about vibes. She's all about the good time, the jokes, and just making sure the atmosphere is positive. That's me all the time. The confrontation can go away, especially for the reasons that you all are all collaborating together. So I appreciate that she was able to. I'm not going to say play both sides of the fence here, because that's usually got negative stigma to it. But that's what she did. She said, hey, I'm going to make sure that my job here to make sure everyone's having a good time and be a good friend and make sure that you handle your responsibilities. That's it. no bias under no circumstance. So I really appreciate that scene, and I love you guys' point of view on that. But again, to Molly, again, growth, and I love the point of you saying that it's not a straight line. It is absolutely amazing to see how she's grown in the last 2 episodes, and I think that when you are able to go head on with an issue immediately, less than 24 hours, it means you slept on it, you woke up about it, prayed about it, whatever it may have been, and you was led to there to have that conversation open-heartedly at that. That's the biggest thing. She didn't come defensive or anything. Apologize. What more can you say? That's exactly how a mature adult handles the situation. So for me right now, Molly is absolutely, as you said, we're seeing 2 friends not only grow apart, but actually, grow in maturity in 2 different directions. And Molly is definitely rising to the better right now.
Yeah, no, I with the whole episode from the beginning, I was like, no, Molly, what are you doing? Every time she had a situation with Andrew, I was like, no, that's the wrong choice. Like, why are you doing this? But she definitely cleaned it up, and she cleaned it up at the end. So I was pleasantly that I'm team Asian Bae and Molly all the way. So
yeah, I like them too.
Yeah,
they're my favorite situation that's happening on the show right now. Like I'm fully invested, so I cannot wait to see more of Andrew's story and get his background. But I'm glad Molly cleaned that up.
Mm-hmm.
I liked her honesty. Like I haven't had a relationship in a while. I've never really had to adjust my schedule, so this is new for me. Like that, like again, back to the point of vulnerability. Like she's really being open, and I really like how it's displaying growth in this episode because it's necessary for us to see that it's possible. Like in real life and on TV. I feel like sometimes we don't allow that vulnerability to come out. We don't give each other grace. So I think this was a really, really dope point of turn for Molly and Asian Bae. So
no chaos is what you're basically saying. And so many predicaments, as much as the stereotypes want to paint out a canvas for certain things to happen. All of those stereotypes was broken in this episode. There was literally no chaos in this episode at all. 2 girlfriends having a conversation, not agreeing, no chaos. Issa not getting a text message back from a business partner, no chaos. A boyfriend and a girlfriend dynamic that's not going the right way, no chaos. So I appreciated that, and I think it's safe for all of us to say right now, although we felt like this episode was was a little bit of a slower pace than the last episode, there were some really good messages that came out of this, and I know people are going to want to shred this one to smithereens or whatever it may be, but like when you really break it down, there's a lot of good things that came out of this, and they got to carry a season, so you're not going to get action for 10 12 episodes, you know what I mean? But messages and storytelling is very important. I want to rebuttal off of something that you slightly said really quick that I'm not going to let slide. Now, you said that you love Molly's maturity about being open and having and conversing with Andrew, and nonetheless, that is a positive thing. But there's a little bit of selfishness in this because Molly, and we're going to see. Matter of fact, I'll take the selfishness back because we got to see. But Molly has been putting her professional career ahead of Andrew. She got Andrew where she want him. She may also be where she want to be mentally and emotionally with Andrew, but her work is taking over, and work has been priority. Although she said it wasn't, work has been priority. Andrew has felt like, hey, I have been optional to you twice, and now I'm throwing an option card at you. How does Molly cope with being dealt the same card that she's been dealing the entire time? Now, this is the true testament of maturity here, because that look that she gave him at the restaurant is the look of, I am out of this right now. Mentally, she clocked out for me. And you can tell me if you felt different, but I felt like she saw when he was like, I'm going to play poker with my friends. I think she automatically evaluated like, but I was putting you on because I was doing work, and you're putting me on because you want to go play with your friends. And am I not more important than them?
I think she had a moment. I think she had a moment of like, no, I was gonna like. So to me, let's describe it in animalistic terms, right? It was almost like she was about to pounce, and then she realized, maybe
she
that's
reeled it
not
back in.
right. Maybe that's not really worth it. That's how I perceived it. I didn't think that she zoned out or anything, but I thought she definitely felt like he sacrificed and or felt a certain way while I was working, and he's made plans based on how I've been carrying us for the past 2-3 days or what have you. He's allowed this because he didn't know for sure. He you know what I mean? Like he expected the unexpected and he prepared that she was gonna have to do work, which it can be seen both ways. It can be seen like, oh damn, like, you know, he's doing he's just making sure that he's busy. Or it could be like, well, he's making use of his time by filling in the space of not being alone or feeling lonely without her. So I don't think she zoned out. I think that she definitely had a moment to be old Molly and she chose to be new Molly.
Yeah, I also think too that when there's a man who has a life outside of a woman, there's a way to balance certain things. So while he wants to make Molly a priority, he's not going to lose out on life waiting for her to be available to him. But I also think that she now sees too that she can't walk over every dude that comes into her life. And I like that he's able to take up for himself and to stand up for himself, which in the long run will make Molly respect him. And I think that that for her, she needs a man that's going to stand up to her because she's very alpha woman personality. She's a lot of personality. She's a lot to handle. And I think that him being able to come back at her and let her know, like, I'm not going to wait around for you. She needed that.
I agree.
Yeah, Andrew is definitely somebody that can hold his own, which is different than a lot of the other guys that we've seen Molly interact with. Either they have their own stuff going on, but their personal life is a mess, or like, you know, vice versa. And Andrew is kind of like the first person we see that he's, you know, he can hold his own. And he, from what we've seen, he's somewhat, you know, he has his stuff together personally, you know, as best as he could too. So I think this is kind of like Molly could be a little selfish at some points, and we kind of see somebody, like Sherelle said, putting her in her place a little bit.
And I don't even think he really put her in her place. I think he just expressed how he felt, and he did it in a way that was receptive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that made all of the difference, because he could easily be like, I mean, well, you working all the time, so I did what I did, versus him saying like, well, I wasn't sure if you were going to have time for me. I know that you're always working, so I just made other plans. That's a completely different statement.
Yeah.
So
and the way he said it, it was like he wasn't coming for her. It was just what it was, and it wasn't no reason for her to come back and be defensive or aggressive with him. I just like that he's able to take up for himself and to stand up to her in a way that she's able to receive it and grow from it and learn from it. And I think that they are compatible with each other in that sense, because they're able to balance each other in a way.
I agree. I definitely agree. Well, speaking of,
I think when you're striving,
sorry, go ahead, Luke. Go ahead.
I think when you're striving to be the best in whatever field that you work in, there's sacrifices that come along with it.
Absolutely.
And relationships are always a sacrifice.
Yep.
And for Molly, that's a key sacrifice. That's why, as this is going on and they're attempting to build this relationship, it's part of the reason why I don't see it working out. Is because she needs to be the best. Absolutely needs to be the best in her career. Even earlier in the episode when she volunteered to take on extra work that she didn't have to. It's because that's Molly. She needs that. But their relationship can fail and she can still learn the lesson of, okay, when I'm ready to be able to receive this relationship, it's something I can deal with. I think right now it's opening up possibilities for Molly. Not saying that this relationship will be the be all end all for her, but sometimes you need those people in your life that open up possibilities to something greater than you're accustomed to. And I think that's what Andrew is doing with her here. And maybe later on, it'll help her put her career in focus. But clearly, right now, going into that new law firm, it's certain things she's not going to have time to do. And it showed his head in this episode. Even when she attempts to go the extra mile to make up for it, how many times can you make up for things that you know is always going to be in the way?
I think that she can. I think she can balance the two. I think that she wants a relationship almost as equally as she wants to make partner at the firm, if that's her
I would
end
say, I
goal.
think someone without her personality could. Someone with that personality cannot. Because
I'm just happy to see that she's being a team player. And I think
exactly.
that that's why she ended up staying when they were all in the office when the one lady left. I think that that's why she did stay in that case. But when he got there and she decided to keep working well into the morning, I think that that showed that she doesn't know how to balance it. But then him bringing it to her attention, I think now she's aware of it. And I think that I think, like Amaya was saying, I think that that might help make it work. Because now she recognizes, okay, hey, and then I think she recognizes it on her own as well. But him actually saying something now puts things into perspective.
Right.
And I actually like that they're communicating because unlike a lot of the other people, you know, they're not communicating, but she's at least communicating with him.
Yeah, look, we haven't said it yet, but I'll just quickly say it. Andrew is absolutely maturing as well, too. He went from saying like, hey, when you get too close, I get nervous.
Right.
And he completely opened up.
They're
I
both
think
growing.
it is a very mature thing to say, I'm trying to figure out where I fit in. I mean, as much as we're giving Molly a lot of credit as being like, you know, a juggernaut in every force that she does, you know, she's absolutely the face. To say that to her, that takes a lot of courage because I mean, you just never know what type of response you may get. And considering him, he's like, hey, I tried this opening up thing, didn't work. I'm never letting it happen. And he hit it head on. I really am interested in Luca's statement about to see if this works or not, and if that is the ultimate reason why I don't. That may be a game changer. I have not even put on the board yet to why this may not work because she's just so much of
I'm that personality. I know. As Issa can tell you, she knows how much I used to work and the way my work days work and the reason I did what I did, I understood my drive and my need to be a certain place in whatever company that I'm in, whatever job I have. That's Molly's personality. So what ends up happening is it forces that person that you're with to actually have to make adjustments to you. Even though you learn things along the way of like the things I need to do to try to nurture this relationship, in the end, your career always overtakes that.
So one other quick thing I want to say about that conversation too. It's kind of funny too. So Molly obviously must have been trying to get pregnant that night because she definitely asked Andrew, did she want to go back to the crib and get edibles and whiskey, particularly the whiskey part. But also she keeps surrendering herself and saying, you know, you'll get all of me. If I'm mistaken here, I believe she was saying not too long ago that she was going to go celibate. In other words,
I definitely wrote that down in my notes. She said that she wasn't going to have sex with him anymore.
I am so curious what has happened. What has changed? Why did she feel like that needs to be put back into play?
Because of the emotional connection now. We're being honest about it, right? Women are emotionally based. So the idea that Andrew is being vulnerable to her, he's opening up to her, and he's also allowing her to be vulnerable to him. It changes things. There's no real reason for me to hold out. They're communicating. See, the biggest problem is people don't understand that communication can really just cut out a lot of. We put so many middlemen into our relationships by not communicating. And those middlemen are things that, you know, that haven't occurred or that have occurred that we haven't talked about. And, you know, that goes into like the part in me bringing up Issa and Lawrence, right? Communication. There was a comment that was made by Tiffany's husband, when he says, when it's worth it, you fight for it. And you saw Lawrence's head turn. And I guess a little bit while after that, he comes out into the living room and he's asking Issa, can we talk? So I really want to know where that conversation would have went, if he was going to say whether or not him and Condola broke up, whether like, hey, you know, I thought about you, or I mean, whatever the case is, the idea that we see Molly and Andrew communicating in a way that Issa and Lawrence never did, actually, because from the jump there was no conversation until there was an argument that was said, more of like, well, da 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 happened, so, and you know, versus the like, listen, before this happens, can we talk? So I think that that's something that played in my mind watching it, Lawrence and Issa finally getting to this point where they want to, where at least for Lawrence, he wants to have a conversation. What that conversation was going to be, we don't know.
Mm-hmm. And I think going back to the point you brought up, Nigeria, about Molly saying that, you know, there's a big difference, I think, with women saying that you're going to be, like, I don't remember Molly actually using the word celibate. I think she did say that she was going to hold off, like, having sex with Andrew.
That's correct.
But there's a big difference between, you know, when a woman says she's going celibate to, oh, I think I'm just gonna, you know, I think I'm just gonna hold off on that for a little bit. And like Amaya mentioned, like it definitely was an emotional thing. You already see that, you know, that emotional shift in their relationship. So that's kind of where that came from. And then I feel like the point of that was a big cliffhanger at the end about what Lawrence was gonna say. Like what was he gonna say? And I'm just like, I mean, I guess the natural conclusion is that him and Condola must have broken up, but I don't know if we have any other like conspiracy theories around that.
Condola's pregnant and he found out about
my
it.
God.
Look, Jazz, quickly, I was to say that when I felt like that when Molly said that to her girlfriends, that kind of was like law, because it felt like a pat, and you know, it could have been something she just said mentally, but the fact that she announced it to them, I felt like that's why I was a little bit of motivating to kind of label the word celibate on it.
Friends that we don't meet.
Like I don't know. I mean,
your friends before?
Being on the outside,
to your friends before?
Being on the outside, man. When y'all, it feels like y'all gatherings, man, be like cult gatherings, and when y'all say things, it's just all blood all around. It's like this is what I'm doing. I'm cutting him off. Forget him, girl.
With
you know
women,
what?
sometimes
You know what, Najee?
for
Give yourself a couple
our
of
own
movies.
protection, we take away sex out of the situation to make ourselves feel protected from the situation. So
it's not.
We be
it's
lying.
Not only a woman thing.
But
it's not only a woman thing. I've done this before. It's not only a woman thing.
What about me?
I'm about to say it's not only a woman thing now. That's what I said, Najee. You know, when you get older, men have these same discussions.
It's not often that we hear men say, "I'm gonna fall back on sex from her." We don't hear that. So
I did for 2 years. It happens.
But remember this. So we're talking about Issa and Lawrence unfinished conversation, right? But what about that phone call that Issa, you know, that led to that voicemail that Nate left? You know what I'm saying? Like, what about that? What do we think about that? Where might this go? Like, should she call him back? What if he pops up at the block party? Like, you know?
I'm gonna let the women answer this one.
Was that phone call from Nate or Daniel?
No, it's from
Nathan.
Nathan.
Oh,
Nathaniel.
Okay.
Is it Nathaniel Nathan?
Nathan Nathaniel Nate.
Right.
Everybody's been wondering. He's back.
We're definitely gearing up for a Nathan Nathaniel Nate appearance very soon.
I would love to see him
come back and be like, "Boo!" It's probably gonna be it's probably gonna be at the block party. I feel like this is all, all leading toward some big, everything's gonna. This is a lot of buildup that we're gonna see all come into explosion. Boom at the block party. So. I just gotta say, Nathan has to come better than what he came with the last time with them flowers and a sorry excuse.
I'm wondering.
Well, I mean, what else could he have done though? Because she didn't want to talk to him. First, so let's back up. So number one, he did try, and then Molly cut him off. And then he came back again, and Issa was like, "I'm a fall back." So what did you want from him?
I think she
wanted
wanted him at first, and then he
time around.
disappeared. Yeah, once he disappeared, when that message came in, all that popped into my head, and I don't know if this is like a vulgar thing to say. Well, it can't because it's against men. Fuckboys will always find a way to attempt to pop up in your life to ruin everything all over again.
Right,
Because
but she
that
was saying
message out the
that he
blue
could have
like
done
that,
more than
yeah,
have flowers.
I feel
no,
like, well, no, she will. Well, to be quite honest, I really feel that had Molly not intervened, that would have been a whole different ball game, right? Because she would have been able to make the decision on her own in the moment, and that might have been what she needed. Not saying that it could have went
We
any
know.
different, but I just feel like me personally, I understand that you're protecting my peace. There could have been a conversation that Molly had with him before letting him get to Issa, but like telling him like, nah, bro, like not today. I'm not sure. I feel like that cut because Issa said something about that. She felt a way about it, right?
She did, yeah.
And then they
Mhm.
had a conversation when Nate showed up, and she was like, you could have came better, but like time has passed now. She's been allowed to linger on it and sit on it. It's not the same as that immediate conversation that we could have had. That's very different.
Yeah, but I
Is
just
it a
don't know
bad thing to linger?
what else he could have done to make her want to talk to him if her
I don't.
mind was already made up.
Because that's one. Is it a bad thing to linger? Because her
I'm
breaking
just
at
happy
that
that he
point would
came
have been a
back.
good thing. Like to me, I think he represents some of the worst things about her is in him,
I mean,
and she needs to avoid him at all
we
costs.
don't know, right?
But
So
we don't know
we don't
that.
know what happened. So it's
Yeah.
I can't
We
say
need
this is
but
I
here's the
need
thing.
closure from Ghost. Okay.
And I think I'm about to say now. I think that's the difference here. It's a difference from wanting closure and saying we don't. We know exactly what levels he took her through, and I
do we?
understand
How
things
many
happen in
levels
your
did he took
life.
her through?
It's
He only took it to one, right? He like
no.
He
Did
only
you see
disappeared
everything?
once.
No. In season 3, did you see everything she went through as she was constantly trying to get in touch with her? Those are a series of emotions. It started off with anger. It went to anger, concern, to everything else. She went through so many different emotions when he just
right. She went
magically
through
decided
different
not to be there.
emotions, but it was still one event.
But no, it could
Right.
be one event, but one event can lead to everything else.
No, I'm not saying that it can, but what I'm saying is a conversation, almost immediate conversation. When she let it linger, I think that is a little bit of a difference because you still see the smirk and the smile in her face when he called. So now I would totally agree with you if she didn't have that look on her face when she got that voicemail.
Same thing Lawrence did.
You can't just
But
forget
that's what I'm
about
about to
Ferris
say.
Bueller that
It's the
easily. I'm
same look
sorry.
she has on her face when Lawrence calls her.
But
The
that's
same
my
exact
whole.
look.
But that's my whole point. She's not. I don't even think she's over Lawrence. So
But that's what I mean by he represents all the bad things about her relationships. Like Issa
But we
has a
don't know him
pattern at this
enough to
point.
say that he's the bad thing.
No. You don't have to be the bad thing. You can have a great person in your life that still represents bad parts of your relationship. It's not the person's fault. It is
Okay.
that person is
I see what
that
you're
person is yeah, that person is where they at. But that does not mean it does not lead to bad things that are in you. And it just comes out of you. I think again, it starts off with her not being over Lawrence, from her panning for Daniel. Now I'm confused now. Her panning for Daniel to her panning for another Daniel to Lawrence. Like it's everything. It's everything in the same with her.
Well, I mean, again, here we, and just that's a good point, Lou, to wrap up on, which is that she has to have some sort of clarity on what it is she truly wants, what direction she actually wants to go in, and which of these men that she's been pining over the last couple of episodes and seasons is she going to choose. And I think that I hope that we'll see more of that in the rest of the season. Shit, I mean, maybe Nate shows up at the block party when Lawrence is there. So,
all three of them show up together. That would be the way the sitcoms work.
Can I tell you, social media wants Nathan and Nate to come back more than anything. Like at this point now, he has to come.
He has to have a conversation.
He has to be there.
See him one more time. I need closure.
Him calling, I'm pretty sure gave some people chills. Like, here we go.
Issa needs to discover who Issa is at this point. Until she does, that's the issue. Exactly. Because all three of those men represented her at different points of her journey.
I agree.
All three of them have. And until she gets to understand who exactly she is, she needs to deal with no one.
Yeah, and she will develop.
Yeah, but I will say that I think that Nathan was her fresh start. And I think that she really wanted that situation to develop and grow into something.
Rebound. Got you.
Yes. Yeah, that was a rebound guy.
Fresh start, rebound.
But Daniel was her rebound.
No.
I don't feel like Nathan was the rebound.
I don't think it was the rebound. Daniel was her rebound.
Here you go. Daniel was her exit because she couldn't end that relationship and she knew it needed to end. Daniel was her exit. Nate was her rebound. Because she used Daniel to get out that relationship with Lawrence. That was clear. She used him to get out that relationship. And when she got out of that relationship, they attempted to do something that never was going to ever work between the two. And she knew it. That's why end of season 3, when they were in bed and it looked like they were going to do more, and she said, no, I can't do this. Because she used him for the purpose that she needed him to be. Who? Daniel? No.
Nathan.
No, I definitely don't think it.
I think because she still had feelings for Lawrence.
Daniel was unfinished business. He was an unfinished, unclosed chapter. Like a maybe I could because I wanted it so bad. And we've all had that where we want it so bad, we want to try.
Yeah.
And then we get there and we get into it and we're like, so.
But do you try when you're in a long-term relationship?
What do you mean? No, we're not talking about.
I feel like she had exited, like even though she was obviously still clearly in that relationship, she mentally exited that relationship long before the Daniel stuff happened.
But that's what I think. She did, but she used that to physically exit that relationship.
So then how is Nathan not her fresh start?
Because Nathan is still her rebounding from everyone else. She's still not over Lawrence.
I think when Nathan called him
until you are over the last relationship. You can't pine for your ex and say I got a fresh start. You don't have a fresh start because you're still thinking about your ex. And I think that was her issue. Before she slept with light-skinned guy.
No.
Light-skinned guy. I'm calling him light-skinned guy now. Michael Ealy. Before she slept with Michael Ealy. She still had feelings for Lawrence. So I don't think it can't be a fresh start as long as those feelings linger.
I don't know because it's okay to still love people from your past and not want to be with them.
But she wants to be with Lawrence. That part I think is clear now.
Confused, hence the conversation in reference to
how is it clear?
Issa needs to find herself and she needs to have a conversation about what she truly wants.
TSA Babe was her fresh start.
That should be, oh my God. All right. And on that note,
good night.
Look, let's just all really quickly closing thoughts of this episode, and we'll wrap it up. And I'll just start off by saying a couple of things. Number one, I know Beyonce is your guys' savior. I seen how she tried to pull that prayers from the heaven to get Beyonce to headline that block party. Is this actual technique that's happening out here for the Beehive? Because that seems really passionate the way she was typing. Like I thought she thought a prayer was going to come through. So I thought that was funny that they did that. But I think the two biggest things for this episode with me is that we're just seeing two people that we've seen grow within this series, really handle responsibility and relationship in two different dynamics. And I think looking back, this is not where we would have seen them at. So it's really interesting that at season 4, on episode 4, that we're just seeing them grow in such a drastically different way. That's really going to make this season really intriguing. So I'm definitely interested to see that. And then my last little point is that about Issa and damn, you throwing everybody's name out there, and Lawrence. I think it's really interesting that, especially what Amaya said earlier, that they're finally able to have conversation with each other. And I wonder if that's because one of the two of them felt so barren with the responsibility of each other that now that that's gone, now this is another dynamic in here in Condola, or just, I don't know, somebody's life is just on a better path, whatever it may be, that they're able to have this, giggly, friendly conversation with each other that they never had. And it's ultimately going to grow into the romance that they probably should have built off of in the first place. And I think that can get super dangerous, considering everything that's in hand. So that's just my closing notes for it. And I'll speak more about that next week. So any other closing notes for the night?
Yeah, I would just say that I really do think that this dynamic of watching Molly and Issa's friendship, really seeing them for individuals and not as the Molly Issa powwow, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's a very great dynamic to look at. I am really interested in seeing how Lawrence and Issa come through. And I will say, to your point, Najir, is that sometimes people split up and then they get remarried, right? Like, people get divorced and then they marry each other again, or people break up and they get back together. Sometimes you have to grow separately as individuals in order to come back and be a stronger couple. I think that may or may not happen here. I do think that Issa needs to have a conversation in the mirror with herself. Like, what do you really want? What's the goal here? Where are you trying to go? And I think that presents us as people, as viewers who are watching this show, to say, like, hey, like, we really need to think about that. I tell my friends all the time, like, you got to make a pro and a con list for whoever it is you're considering dating. Don't go in and just put all your eggs in one basket and then look shocked when something happens. You have to decide, in a smart sense, what's gonna go down. And I think that Andrew and Molly having the conversation is definitely like, all right, cool, we are communicating, and this is what effective communication looks like, and this is how we can overcome these things, because we make things bigger than they are. They're not really that big of obstacles if we just talk about it. So I'm interested to see how this dynamic plays out.
I want to know where Condola is. I want to know where Nathan is. I'm not, Issa, Lawrence, their whole thing is, their whole back and forth. It's cute. But I do agree. I feel like their relationship was probably very young. They're not that old. I feel like they probably started their relationship very young. And it stayed a young relationship. And that's tough. I've been there before. And it's hard, when you're growing with someone and you guys are growing at different speeds or different directions. But what I can say as far as this, as far as Insecure in this plot, I think it would be, Lawrence and Issa getting together is very expected, I think. And I feel I'm always one for the unexpected,
right? Yeah.
The unexpected twist. So I think it would be real interesting if maybe there's somebody else who hasn't even swooped in yet to catch Issa's attention. So yeah, that's where I stand.
All right, y'all. So that is episode 4?
Yeah, I'm just curious when Jazz talking about. I hope that guy isn't that small cameo by BJ. I go by Bennett now because
he got
a whole.
I don't think we'll even see him again.
I don't either.
He got a whole scene for I don't know, but
right.
He did get a whole scene. We'll see.
We'll see.
If anything, Molly will tap that, not Issa.
Yeah, I feel like there might be Molly will snack on the side at some point. Hopefully not.
Oh my God. He didn't have to drop his name. They could have been completely without it, but they made sure that his presence was known. So we will see. But yeah, this is episode 4. What is it called again? Lowkey something. I forgot. Whatever. Anyway, it's episode 4 of season 4 of our review, and we will be back next week for episode 5. And until then, thank you everybody for who's listening. Thank you for everybody that's subscribed and so forth. We got the rest of the season to go. Definitely give everybody on this platform a follow. Everybody, information is in the description below, and we will catch you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.